This is Cosmere Chronicles, a podcast where we follow Justin and Sheeta, two first-time readers, and we chronicle their adventures through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere books. Today's episode will be covering Elantris Chapters 1 through 5. And now, here's your host of Cosmere Chronicles, Joe!
Thank you, Joe. Hey everyone, this is Cosmere Chronicles, or CC for short. I am Joe, your host for today, and I am here again with Justin and Sheeta. Hey guys.
Hey,
Howdy.
Joe.
Hey, so how are you two doing today?
Pretty
I'm
good,
doing
can't
perfect
complain.
well.
We went through the first 5 chapters of Elantris, just started the first book of the Cosmere series. How are you guys enjoying it so far?
I like it. Not what I expected, but in a good way.
I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I had no expectations. I'm enjoying the there's nothing I'm not enjoying. I'm enjoying everything about it so far.
Let's just dive right into it then. So I was just starting off with the prologue. Like I said last week, it's very short, just a couple paragraphs, just an explanation of, Elantris. It was beautiful. People there had glowing skin. They could perform magic. They looked, they were like divinities. And people would randomly be chosen by something called the Sheod, and they would become Elantrians themselves. Then eternity ended 10 years ago. And as I'm going through this, also on Brandon Sanderson's website, he does have annotations for every chapter. He had written them as he went through. So I've been looking through those as I've been reading through the stuff. So like the prologue. So the actual prologue, the first sentence was Elantris was beautiful once. But his original sentence he used was, whispered are the days when Elantris was beautiful. So his original line, a little bit more poetic, but, the other one, the newer one also works a little bit easier to jump right into.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to quit at that whisper start, so it's good to just jump right into it.
Yeah, simple and sweet.
I actually completely missed reading the prologue, I'm going to admit. But
You're
I got all that context from the book itself.
Like I said, if you really need to, the prologue's on the back, is literally the back of the book.
Yes, I have read it in the time you were talking. So yes. Now I'm fully caught up.
Wow, backwards.
All right, we'll go into chapter 1. Chapter 1 starts, we meet Prince Raoden.
I pronounced it correctly.
Prince Raoden, he's pretty much the heir to the Arelon kingdom. Lives in the city of K. And he wakes up, it's dark, he's feeling incredibly hungry, more so than he thought he would have in the morning. So it's just him trying to get ready. He calls for food and everything like that. When his servant comes, give him food, they're incredibly shocked. And that's when he notices that his skin was covered in sickly black patches. His hair was, down to a limp gray. So pretty much to him, the Sheod had taken him like it had done to the Elantrians before.
Yeah, I was very surprised to start the book this way. When a prince woke up, I expected to do a whole long multi-chapter walk through the kingdom kind of thing. I didn't expect him to be all fucked up looking and then just kicked out.
I think the whole idea of the shade is really interesting. And now
Mhm.
that it's a curse, it's not something you want. I was like, oh wow, I want the shade to happen to me. I want to be like an angel. But no. It's really sad. I think it's interesting because that could have been a book all on its own, like getting blessed.
It's a good way to set the precedent on how much they do not like and approve of this thing, that a prince gets it and is just like, nope, you're going in there.
You're dead. Yeah.
Yeah, not like one of those stories where they'd hide him in an attic somewhere and just pretend he died or something. Like, no,
Yeah.
you're out. You're cursed.
He's worse than, it's really interesting. It's not like he's sick or like it's contagious, but there's just no hope for anything.
And so, next scene, it goes right into it. He's pushed into the city of Elantris, which has these giant gates or giant walls surrounding it. He's pushed in, locked in there almost immediately. And he thinks about how, he used to be up on the walls. He would look down on the people inside it. And now he's the one that's, trapped inside there. that's what the entire area does with all people taken by the Sheol. They take them, exile them into the city, and just leave them be.
It's really fun or interesting to me how everyone knows that that's what's happening, but even someone like him doesn't seem to have that good of an understanding of what's happening in there. Like they really do just toss him in and forget about him. And I love that they just give him this measly little amount of food, like that even matters.
No, it's like an offering for the dead. It's not even real
Yeah.
food, I feel like.
Oh, it was food. It was like bread, right?
Yeah, but
Meat,
it's like people give
wine.
offerings to like like shrines and things. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like for
Seems
the
more like
idea of it.
ritual than any kind of actual care.
Yeah, like it's not a real care package. It's one
Yeah.
piece of bread. Like just like,
And
yeah.
also that he didn't know, not to get ahead too much, but just how fucking bad this thing is. Like he's not prepared for how horrible it is. Like if
Yeah,
you
I thought
warned
that
him ahead
was
of time, you'd do things a little differently when you walk in there. But well,
it
go on.
is interesting how ignorant they are about it.
Mhm.
Like they're kept all these things are not known to the people outside of it.
Yeah, it's too fucking horrible, is my assumption. Like nobody wants to know about that. Just throw it away and forget it.
I think it's weird that they dump them in the city though.
Yeah.
Like, I guess what else do you do with them? I don't know. You could take care of them. I don't know. Right?
I wouldn't want to.
But you
Being
could
honest.
just
They're
Oh,
cursed,
actually,
though, right? They're cursed. They're like separating them. They're getting rid of them. Like they're
Think
wrong
of them.
now.
Just think of them like they're lepers.
Yeah.
Kind of
yeah,
what
but
they're treating them like.
Well, lepers are super contagious, though. But yeah, the same kind of
that's what I mean. Lepers are contagious. The
My
curse, or
assumption is they don't want that curse out here.
Might not know that they aren't contagious, since when this happens, they immediately put them inside the city.
Yeah, true.
I mean, his serving lady was really freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's superstitious too.
Well, it's when you find out someone's a witch, you get rid of them. They're just wrong and bad.
Yeah, maybe they just don't like him. But that was your prince, a beloved prince from before.
Not anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And so Raoden, he's in the city, and he sees that everything is covered in like this grime. There's just a layer of it.
Really fascinated in the grime. Yeah, go on.
Yep, and then as he's going, he finds there's just bodies of people just lying around, not doing anything. They're just moaning in agony. Just moaning, muttering all over the place.
Yeah, how many of those are people who came in and just got beat basically to death right away and never made it any further? I wonder.
I like that we're finding out a little bit at a time, like what it is that's happening. Because I'm just like, oh, they're just sickly or hungry or something. Like we don't know anything like what's going on at all, like why it's so bad.
I really like how the information on the city and the shade people, however you pronounce it, that it's being given to us so slowly. It's really interesting.
I think a lot of that, it's like, we're with Raoden. He doesn't know anything, so we don't know it, and so we learn as he learns.
Mm-hmm. That's
It is
crazy.
interesting to me, I want to say, his perspective when he goes in there too, because we don't know him at all yet. But he's not all whiny. He's not all righteous either. He seems he seems rather realistic. Yeah. Like he's more pragmatic or something, or more I don't know.
It's like, yep. That's it. That's what happens,
Yeah. Yeah, like not this isn't supposed to happen to me or any of that. It really sets a lot about the character really, really quickly. But that he's not like also a seasoned, super like knowledgeable, ultra badass either.
He seems like a good guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any resentment.
Yeah, not recoiling like, ooh, more interested in the things around, trying to gather information. Yeah.
Looking at the annotations, one interesting fact is that the book originally started with the gates shutting behind Raoden. So that first scene of him being in his room and stuff being found, that originally wasn't there.
Oh, so that was cool.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah, I think Sanderson changed it to having the person there because some of that stuff otherwise would have been told in flashback, and so he just made it so that it just happened first.
So that was when he was originally writing it, or when it was originally published?
When he was originally writing it.
Okay, yeah.
like I said, this was his first published book, but technically it was his sixth novel that he had written.
Had he tried to get the previous ones published, or did he just write
Yeah,
them as a hobby?
both. So he would write them, and he would try to get them published, but they kept, coming back with no's. Eventually,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
one got picked up, but
Interesting. Sounds
back
like a good
to
way to cheat on world building. Go on.
back to this. So you two already picked up on the, him having that, that little bit of food and grain and stuff, and
Mm.
as he's walking through the city, he stumbles over, finds what he thinks is like an old man lying on the ground, but
Yeah.
as he looked closer, it's more like a teenager that's lying on the ground.
That was
Oh,
oh shit.
that was very freaky. The way it was said was so scary.
To me
They
that
did.
was the God, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, to me that was the first indication that something is really, really wrong in here. Like that's when it started to feel more like hell and not just a leper colony.
Yeah, that teenager, old guy, the beggar, he asks, just for some food, and Raoden gives him his bread. And the beggar is just completely shocked at this development, but takes it. Raoden walks away, but
Well,
then
that
he
told us a
notices.
lot about his character too, right there. Like we have no idea who this guy is when he's the kind of guy who would give up his one loaf of bread to some fucked up beggar. That tells us a lot about him. So I was glad to know, oh, we're following a good dude.
It also said a lot about the place too, that the beggar he didn't expect to get anything. He just did it out of habit.
Yeah, almost like instinct, right?
Yeah, so I thought that was all sad.
Well, Joe, let's hear how well that went for that beggar.
Yeah, Raoden leaves, and then almost immediately, a group of men attack the beggar. They crush his neck with a cudgel. Then the men start chasing after Raoden. Raoden just throws his basket at them, and while doing that, he trips and stubs his toe. And then they start picking up whatever food they can, and they start eating it, even with the grime on it.
Ugh. I wonder what the grime is. I don't think it's regular filth. I think it's
I think it's something supernatural because later they do
yeah.
reference that no place should be as run down as this place is in just 10 years. It looked like
Yeah.
it's been centuries or whatever.
Yeah, I thought that too. 10 years isn't that long. Yeah, no. That was all sad and gross when they ate it.
And one of the men, he winds up finding the little cask or flask of wine. And then the other people that were in his group, chase him away.
Yeah. I assume wine is quite valuable in here.
During this, Raoden meets another man in there called Galadon, who is from the country Duladel. The fact that Galadon is from there surprises Raoden, since the Shield's only supposed to be able to take people from Arelon. But with Duladel being pretty much right on the border, they have a lot of mixture in their races and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was really interesting to take so much time setting up that this place is all horrible and fucked up, and then just have him turn and there's a guy who's completely articulate and relatively normal there.
Yeah. That was a nice feeling to have a friend or someone who wasn't insane.
Well, for a second I wasn't sure if it's nice or not because you don't know what this guy's gonna do. Charming, like easygoing guy. I would not be feeling safe in a place like this to see a guy like that.
At least he's not trying to kill him or take his food.
Yeah,
He doesn't
I'll
have any
take
food.
that.
none that he
Well,
knows of.
Yeah.
And it is at this time that Raoden realizes that the toe that he stubbed is still hurting the same. And he learns that any injuries you get in here will never heal, and you'll always feel it like it just happened.
Yeah,
probably-
that's horrible.
That was probably the part in the book where I'm reading and I'm like, oh, this is going to be very interesting because that is a hellish idea. Stubbing your toe is one of the worst goddamn feelings ever. I stubbed my toe 2 days ago and could not help thinking about how much that would hurt to keep I believe it's the point of impact where you feel, not the lingering side effects. I was like, dear frickin' God.
And with them being shoved into the city, they don't have shoes on. They just have their little ceremonial burial robes or whatnot, and that's it.
Oh,
What?
I didn't catch
Really?
that. Yeah, that's interesting. But
That's
So
why
God,
they really do act like they're dead. Like, give him nothing.
yeah. It's so interesting that you've got to be so freaking careful in here. Like the light, like it's so easy to stub your toe when running around in some grimy city like that. And if you're gonna have to carry that around forever, oh God. I could not stop thinking about how painful that would be. It really got to me.
it's not just stubbing your toe. You move somewhere, you scrape your,
hmm
like your knuckles on something, cut it.
Yeah,
It's like
but any
that.
cut, any scrape, anything, and spoiler that it all adds up over time, which sounds just awful. Speaking of horrible pain, when they motion over to that poor boy.
Yeah, Raoden it goes back over to the baker and finds that his neck is crushed, and there's a large gash, and you can see his vertebrae inside.
Oh,
And
ew.
somehow the baker is still alive.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's so sad and messed up. And then he talks about that. Like, what do we do? What do we do for him?
Yeah, I like them talking about the different ways that they sometimes try to put people out of their quote misery, but nobody truly knows if it even works or not because they don't know about their souls. I thought all the theories that what the Galadin, how do you say the name?
Galadin?
Yeah, Galadin. All the kind of theories that people have he was posing to our main guy were very, very interesting because you would definitely think about that in there because no matter how careful you are, you know it's going to be your fate someday when something goes wrong.
According to Galadin, his thing that he always talks about is that they're dead. Raoden notices that he himself doesn't have a heartbeat at all.
Mm.
That's why Galadin says that, yeah, they're already dead. And that,
Yeah, but they don't get any of the good parts of that.
no, maybe fire or beheading could end it all, but as you said, they have no idea if that would work or if they would just, have no body but still just be feeling pain.
I thought the line he says about some people believing they just become pain that inhabits this place was really interesting.
Raoden realizes that there is no food in here. The only food that comes in is the food given to the people exiled in. So pretty much everybody in Elantris is constantly starving.
Yeah, don't tell me the answer, but I was wondering about that. If they feel all pain forever, does their hunger get satiated as they eat? That was one of my main questions, but I don't want the answer yet. Or is it just some attempt to not make it worse? I don't know.
Well, that's true because they can't heal. Like, if they eat, does that like heal their hunger?
Or is it just like unnatural injuries that they have forever?
hmm I mean, they still try to eat. Like, they
Well,
still
yeah.
feel the need to eat,
Yeah.
which is awful too.
Right here, towards the end of the chapter, you have Raoden, that's where he pulls out that he has a dried piece of meat left over. He had dropped it, put it back inside his robe, and he offers it to Galadin and says that he'll give it to him if Galadin will just show him around the city for 30 days. Galadin, after some talking, finally agrees to it and takes the meat from Raoden.
Staring at it ravenously and looking like he was about to gobble it down there. I think that's really interesting because it shows the way he's acting, his calmness and stuff. Inside, he's just as fucked up as a lot of everyone else. Like
It
he's
shows that how he survived and kept his sanity too. He has a lot of willpower.
yeah, he'd have to, yeah. Tells us a lot about both characters, which I always appreciate, of course.
That brings us to the end of the first chapter. Anything that I missed or anything else that you two want to discuss?
Well, I thought Elantris was going to be a nice place based on the typeface of the book I have. Like a
Yeah, I'm
glorious.
surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't give it a new name like Death Place. Like they still call it Elantris. Like it's all fancy sounding.
It's
And
it.
yeah.
The city name does really sound like what it used to be. That's for sure.
hmm
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Good. Word making up abilities.
I'm surprised that from all the covers that it's not nice, that it's all terrible.
Well, I think people like that kind of stuff. You know,
It's
like in
yeah,
BioShock, everyone loves Rapture, but I sure wouldn't want to live there.
yeah. Oh yeah. But they don't save the boy, they just leave him, right?
Oh yeah, I like that part a lot. When I think it's Galadin who says I don't know if that's this chapter or later, but he refuses to allow him to burn him. I thought that was really interesting and nice. Some people would prefer an eternity of pain over nothingness. I thought that was a really interesting character moment really interesting thing to learn about him. That's what I'm trying to say. That he actually gives a shit about people.
Yeah, but I felt the struggle there when he's just suffering, and I was like, I would not be able to leave him like that. But then also thinking, can't do nothing.
Mhm.
It's not like they can heal him at all, so it's
Yeah,
the only thing
but
they
you
can
always
do
want
would
to,
be
And his
you know,
suffering, which they
yeah,
wouldn't
put
even know
him.
if it would work.
Yeah, I was like, you got to put him
Or
out of his misery, but you
he's
can't.
right though. Some people would choose to stay alive with the torment. Some people would choose to be put out of their misery. If you can't know, you do not know. So it shows that he respects other people's
Choices.
personal choices. What's that, Shida?
Yeah, just that respects their choices and
Boy,
wishes.
if I was that boy, I would have very much liked to be able to tell him what I would want. At
Yeah.
least.
now, Justin, you mentioned not knowing if you could trust Galadin. Do you think you can trust him, or do you think he'll betray Raoden later?
I think that Galadin is honest. He has never, ever made claim that you can trust him. I think he'll follow his word on the meat deal. I think that if our main guy had something that he needed, I think he would just be honest and say, I'm going to take that from you. Do not fight, you know? That's my assumption about the guy. I don't think you can live in here and be particularly heroic, honestly. Maybe that main guy will show differently, but what about you, Shita? Do you think so?
I don't know. Personally, I'm just always trusting. So I trusted him immediately and was like, oh, thank God.
Oh God, no.
I was like, yeah, no, you're my new best friend. That's what I thought.
On to chapter 2. This one, different character we're following. Starts off Princess Sarene. It's
Serene? I was
yes.
doing Serene this whole time.
Yep, that's one where, as I said, it's spelled like the word serene. And I know that the first audiobook version of this, he's pronounced serene. I'm not sure if the 10th anniversary was or not.
Oh, it was Sarene. Yep.
Yep, because I know that this is the one of the only books where Brandon Sanderson has an actual pronunciation guide he made for characters' names.
Mm.
Some of them are still. I'm trying to look at some of those. Like I still am not understanding how to pronounce names from this pronunciation guide.
Oh God, I'm looking forward
But
to that.
yeah, but I know that one's Serene.
Serene. That changes the whole character for me.
Yeah,
Not you. You heard it that way.
I did. I can't imagine though. It's very different.
Yeah, she arrives in Arelon from her home country of Teod, where if you look at one of the maps, Teod is pretty much across the sea, straight north from where Elantris is. She's arriving days earlier than the people in Arelon had expected her to arrive because, well, she was betrothed to Raoden, so she was coming there to surprise him, and that way they can spend a few days together before they get married. But instead, she arrives and finds out that he is dead. However, due to the marriage contract that they had in the betrothal, if either party wound up dying before the actual marriage, they are still considered legally married.
I really liked the marriage contract. I think it was really funny and really sucked for her.
Yeah.
I love the idea that they have that because then, as they said, whatever political thing you're trying to do with it does not get undone just because somebody dies or is killed.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the stigma of marriage is in this world really yet.
Their marriage was to tie their two kingdoms together to form an alliance against the Fjorden Empire, or same thing if you look at, the map, you can see Fjorden's very large.
Yeah, I got that vibe.
And I know somewhere, I think in this chapter, you'll find out that Duladel was recently taken over by Fjorden. And Duladel was where Galadin was from.
Mm.
But yeah, Serene's there, and she decides that she's going to go visit the casket for Raoden where they're holding it. So she goes there and she finds it pretty suspicious that King Raoden's father, is holding court right now, even though his son had just suddenly died.
I liked how the guy who brings there says that the prince was much loved, and then when she gets there, she sees that that is in fact true. That tells us a lot about him too. On the other side of things, that he's basically a celebrated figure in that kingdom.
Yeah, that was nice. I liked hearing a little bit like that. When I was wondering if she cared that he was dead, like if she actually liked him, like are they in love and stuff like that. I thought her description of their relationship was really interesting. That she did want to like him and was excited to marry him.
That their conversations they had that she got something from. But I like that their
Yeah,
way of communicating is vague enough that you don't get to see them perfectly, you know?
yeah.
And then I liked later, jumping ahead, that he felt the same thing, or wondered from their conversations if she was as interesting as she seemed to. Because you never really know, maybe they're just bullshitting you for political reasons, you know? Once you're up there, you can't trust anyone.
Catfishing.
Catfishing, sure.
Sci-fi fantasy catfishing.
Like you're just talking to somebody else completely, and then they send over this absolute moron to you instead, or this like gross bore.
Well, they used to do that with old-timey paintings of people they wanted to make marriages like that with.
Did they
They
really?
always they painted them like more handsome or pretty
Oh,
than they were.
that's terrible. Here, can you put this painting over you while we consummate the marriage? All right, that's very off topic, but that's very interesting.
And like same thing with you two talking about it. I enjoy their relationship in there because most of the time in fiction, when there's betrothal or political marriages, usually it's neither party really wants it and they're just forced into it. But this one, it really comes across like they both were into it and curious.
Same in those
Yeah,
old-timey times, all they'd get is a letter and a painting, like she just said.
yeah.
So with magic communication abilities, that makes it a little more intimate, at least.
Oh yeah,
I
and I
really like
forgot.
that. I like that she came there early to kind of hang out with him before the marriage and stuff, and to
Oh yeah,
surprise him. That
that's
was really
true.
sad because like let's spend a couple days together. Get to know each other before we do this, so it can be a little more real. This is nice. It shows how thoughtful she is and romantic too.
One other thing
Oh
to
yeah,
mention
also
throughout
that it
this.
describes how lanky and gangly she is. I thought that was interesting. Quite tall, quite awkward looking, not very popular with the boys back in her kingdom. So
Oh,
I think you're right, Shit. I think she was a little intrigued at the idea of meeting this guy who probably seems a little more interesting and smart than the people she's used to talking with.
well, they said that the people from TO are that had these features and stuff. I really like that because I love that in things where
Which
people
features?
from like they have blonde hair and
Hmm.
like they are taller and bigger and stuff like that.
Yeah, but she's
Tall
taller
as
than
her.
your taller than your yeah.
Yeah, she's like extra beautiful.
Only by today's standards.
And the other thing, I forgot to mention is throughout all this, she has her Seon, which is a,
Yes.
orb that flies around, able to talk to her, and a sentient being.
You like the
That
orb
was the
shit?
weirdest thing because I was wondering what they were on the covers, and I was like, I did not think they were a little fairy, pretty much
Yeah,
like
I thought
that
they'd be
talked.
like, oh god, little Navis.
Yeah, little Navis or like skeets, like
Skeets. I didn't think of that one.
I was like, this is freaking sci-fi. Like they are also like, are they servants? Are they little like AI or you know, it's
I,
really interesting.
I really thought
Oh
it was interesting later when we learn how old those things are, passed down from
yeah.
generation to generation.
I'm so curious about them. They even
Yeah,
have genders, like the prince has a
that
girl one.
surprised me. When
They
she
have
called it a him, I was very surprised.
yeah, it's so weird. And they're also like, oh, there's not many of those around anymore. Like
Hmm.
I think
There's
they're so fascinating. It's the weirdest thing, but I really like them.
there's definitely something with them, some kind of
Yeah,
unknown secret thing with them.
yeah. They have names too, like
And
it's just
personalities.
so
When it
yeah,
fucking stops,
personality.
I thought that was so funny.
Huh?
When I
Did
think
they
it's
what?
it's like or whatever it snorts or whatever. Like,
Oh yeah.
that
And
was
she's like,
quite
I
funny.
don't know how you guys make those noises, she says.
Yeah, that
She
was quite.
comments on them.
I did not expect those to be a character. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really trust them.
Really?
Kind of. Yeah, like things like that. They're so
You think they're
mysterious,
you think they're
and
like
they're
the
so
keepers?
old.
You think they're
Yeah.
like the keepers where they serve some creepy secret purpose?
They just like, benignly float around and be like, "Oh yeah, we're just your friends," but you don't know anything about them, and like you don't if you unless you understand their inner workings and stuff.
So you're trusting a
Uh,
people, Sheeta, but when it comes to orbs, that's when you get all intolerant. Is that it?
yes, yeah. Don't trust no Orbeez.
Sarene finds the circumstances behind Raoden's sudden death to be very suspicious. Just a guy who was in perfect health and everything just suddenly is dead. And
Like you
it's
said, that the king was not there doing the many day vigil you're supposed to do of mourning.
yeah, he's just holding court.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
And
glad. Yeah. Or
Glad what?
I'm glad she immediately was suspect of it. Like I was like, yes, that's my girl. Like discover this mystery.
Yeah, she seems very like her thing is that she's very observant and pays attention to details and
Yeah, and
listens to what
smart.
people are.
Yeah.
Yeah, listens to what people are saying underneath what they're saying, all that stuff. But not like super duper smart, like believably smart.
So then she starts going, she leaves that, starts going into the city of K. On her way in, she notes, just how K is, pretty much within the shadows of Elantris, wonders why King Raoden decided to build his castle there instead of somewhere else. But just figures, probably economic reasons, because it's on the river, maybe a little bit of political reasons, putting it near the old capital. And
Mhm.
she also notices that, like, all the architecture there, it's just all sorts of cultures. You have, castles, Duladin stuff, and just all over the place with how it's built.
But
That
in
all really
K? Oh, or Elantris, sorry.
okay, right?
K is the capital, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the buildings are all in K. That's what you're describing, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I like that really showed just like everything that he was, telling us about the first two characters that she is a thinker, observes things, especially when she's trying to reason out the answer to her question about why the city's there. I thought the examples you already said of the port,
Well,
the invocation of power of being right by the city were really interesting to see that that's where she went.
yeah, she's really invested in the politics of the marriage and everything too, and she cares about her country, it seems like.
That's her new purpose in life, right? So she's fully committing.
Yeah.
Again, another interesting thing that she's also not a whiny brat, just like the prince isn't. But I really expected her to be like, "Oh, this is so unfair," and just complain the whole time.
And while being brought into the K, she notices, a person in a white cloak or white, garb being brought to Elantris. So on her way in, she sees her husband going into Elantris.
Was that really him?
Yes.
I did not realize that at all. That's hilarious.
What? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
she's going in, she goes by a person, and yeah, she goes right by Raoden as he's being brought into Elantris.
Oh
Thought they
my
were
god.
copying some other poor fool, but they probably don't do it that often now that I think about it.
No, because it's the same day, so that'd be the only person being brought in.
So then that
Wow.
really, really makes it confusing why the king is holding court at this time for
Two
her.
ships passing in a night, in the dark.
Yeah,
And
but if she
so,
saw him, she'd just be like, "Ugh, he's ugly. No, thanks."
do you think that's the way she'd react?
No, I don't. I don't. I think she would do the same thing she's been doing this whole time, but I doubt she would recognize him if he's all fucked up. Anyways,
He doesn't really know what he looks like, though.
yeah, tell me how that worked because it said they get kind of a form of it, but do they not get the details on the little magic call they do?
It's-
Because it did seem to me like they don't really know what they look like that well.
It's like a magical FaceTime. It seemed like kind of like I imagine it like Star Warsy with their comms, you know.
Well, those you can make out the details pretty well, though.
Yeah,
I
but
get-
not really.
all right, I guess all we have is a moment later, ball of light form that formed his essence melted into glowing head. So we
essence.
just kind of sees like a glowing version of their head.
Yeah, that's how I imagined it, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's different than seeing like flesh and blood,
Yeah.
real person.
Like, they don't, yeah.
I imagine it's, just a light.
So it'd be
Okay.
funny if they saw each other and did not recognize each other at all.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Especially
maybe they
since
did.
he's probably not wearing
Ra-
any of his princely clothes.
No, he's in rags.
Raoden Raoden would probably have an easier time recognizing her, since he just will not look like himself. Even if she knew what he looked like, he would not look like himself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my other question. Their hair falls out. Has his hair fallen out yet? Is that immediate, or is that later on?
He still has his hair.
Yeah, so that's over
In,
time.
in chapter 1, I believe, just still had his hair.
Okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head if he still had it in.
They
Later
didn't say
chapter.
anything about him not in
No.
the other chapter.
He's so nice. I have it here. I hope he stays handsome and doesn't go bald.
He's covered in horrible blotches of like rotting nightmare stuff.
Yeah, but he's a prince.
I will just tell you, he's gonna be bald.
Spoilers, Joe.
That's part of being taken by the Sheod. Go bald.
No.
We don't know. Maybe he's so badass he keeps it in, or maybe he gets hair plugs or wears a wig. We don't know.
Yeah. Oh, maybe he finds medicine.
Just for the hair, because he seems that vain.
It's just a jar of what's the male hair growth stuff?
I don't remember that.
Dang it. Look it up.
Very important to look up.
Get the hair growth stuff from the season 2 episode of The Simpsons. Season 3.
This is officially the boringest
Rogaine.
part of the podcast.
He
What's
finds
that for?
a chest of Rogaine.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's okay. I don't think it'll work on a curse. So.
Sarene, she gets to court, and King Aoden, however you pronounce it, he just ignores her, while she's there. Eventually, after some other stuff, he does acknowledge her, but he just brushes her off and tells his wife, Eshin, to bring her to her room to do womanly stuff.
I think it's funny how she feels like he's ignoring her, or like it feels like he's maybe not noticing her, maybe not caring, but once he finishes all his business, he deigns to speak to her. Like, it shows so much disrespect for her. It's really, really funny to me, and sucks for her. Like, I know you're there. I'm just overtly could not
Be
bother
bothered.
to even
Yeah.
speak to you, to even say, go away.
I think he also insulted her looks. It's just like, I'm not the one that would have had to deal with it.
Oh, yeah.
I
like
think he's
him. He's
funny.
cool.
Yeah. Like, this is like just a perfect example of a king that's all disinterested in all the worst attributes.
Yeah. I think it's
But
really
actually,
interesting. Oh, Sheeta, you first.
oh no, I'll say it later when it becomes relevant. So.
No, say it now.
Just that I don't feel ill will towards him because he's just doing him. Like he seems true to himself, about the things he cares about. And
I don't know. The fact that he's not sad about his son makes me wonder.
well, I think that's just the way it is. I think he's bummed in all the ways like
You
he'd
think
be
he
and
thinks
stuff.
the same way as his son does? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's just the way it is there. And now he's just dealing with stuff like that he has to deal with. I think he seems like a realistic king for that because he's like, I'm a king. I've got all these things to deal with. A marriage that is just a political marriage between my son. Like, that's just one more thing I have to worry about.
I don't know. I think he seems like an asshole.
Well, you gotta have to be one if you're.
I think it's interesting a bit later when they say that the merchant class was who rose up when the other people fell back in the day. And is it her or someone else? I don't remember who says he's a merchant, not a diplomat,
Yep, that was her.
All of that to me just kind of puts him down a bit.
Yeah, he has his priorities, is what I mean.
Sheeta, you think he's a great king, worthy of the throne?
I don't think he's great, but I like the character.
The rightful, king of man. Yeah, no, the character is really good. I really enjoyed him. I thought he was very funny.
All right, so Sarene gets, is brought to a room by Eshin, Aiden's wife, and Eshin throughout it she just constantly always talks, but never lets a conversation build. It's always just talk about this, talk about that, and everything. Sarene finds it suspicious that Eshin isn't grieving about the death of her son, but later Ash, or Sarene's Seon, reminds her that Eshin isn't Raoden's mother, that his mother had died, and that she is his stepmother, and she married Aoden about 10 years ago.
These are pretty good ways to sneak in exposition where they're not just telling you something, they're having her make an assumption and then have it be corrected. I thought that was a clever way to do that. Let us know that stuff.
Yep, and Sarene notices when she gets in there that all her clothes that she has now are black because she is grieving since she is now a widow.
Yeah.
And she dislikes the color black because it doesn't go with her skin tone, I think she was saying, or something like that.
I think that's funny because that makes her really girly, where before she's just hasn't really been that girly. But caring about the dress colors was really interesting to learn about her.
Yeah, it's like, black isn't my color.
Yeah, she likes colors.
Well, she's also like, why the heck am I in mourning? Like, no one else seems to be. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But they like want to put on airs like, oh yes, because our son is totally dead. You know, like.
Ash tells her that there's not as many Seons around the city as there was before the Raode. Raode was is what they call it when Elantris fell. And during this conversation, Sarene also tells Ash that she believes that Raoden was murdered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just by the way everyone's acting, yeah.
That's her current theory, is that Raoden was murdered.
That was my theory from the start, too, that somebody did that to him. So I'm curious to learn more about that stuff and see where that's going.
What, really?
I just assumed a prince gets stricken with it, somebody's going to gain from that.
How?
I have absolutely no evidence of that whatsoever, but that's my feeling.
I mean, the contract is still, binding.
Well, not somebody who cares about that stuff.
So they have...
like that, from the vibe I get, that political marriage, I don't think it was ever going to be as strong for their kingdoms as they hoped, from stuff we learn a bit later.
And
I do wonder if he's the only son, though.
That's true, too, yeah.
When she's in her room, Sarene talks to her father through her Seon.
And comparing the two kingly fathers was really interesting. Because the other one's so cold and this guy's so jovial and friendly.
And he, it's obvious he cares about his daughter. Through the conversation, that's where we learned that she and Raoden had communicated before.
Mm.
And she tries to say, he's dead. It doesn't matter. I didn't really know him. But she's clearly upset by the fact that he's dead.
Yeah.
I like that the king says that, even if the laws say you must stay there, I'll break them or change them to get you to come back if you wish. It tells me a lot about him.
Yeah, he's a good daddy. He says, you can come home, like.
Pretty much, tells her, even though, you're still my daughter, even though you're married and technically are considered.
Oh yeah, with their culture, the new king becomes her father, right? Yeah.
He says that, yep, he's my new father now. Mm-hmm. Even though he sucks.
But during this, she declines to come back because she wants to keep the, the contract between the two of them still together, and also she has some plans about what to do in the city.
Yeah, wants to suss out what's going on here too.
Yep.
She smells a mystery. Her nose wiggles.
It shows that she's very responsible too.
Mm-hmm. Follows her duty and stuff. It really seems to me like they would have genuinely got along from what I know about both of them.
Yeah, I ship them.
You ship them? You ship the betrothed married couple?
Yeah, betrothed, now separated through curses and lies. Oh, I also like that is it here that we learn a little bit about Sarene, that she's an old maid pretty much. She's kind of worried that she hasn't been...
Of 25, yeah. Way past marriage prime.
Mm-hmm. And she was hoping that now maybe she can get that part of her life started.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, yep. So that brings us to the end of chapter 2. Anything else in there that you feel we missed or that you'd want to discuss?
Oh, just that Ash was saying his memory isn't what it used to be. Like he needs Ash the Scion,
Why did he say that again? I forget.
I don't remember. But
Was
he was trying to tell her the history. Huh?
Oh, no, go on. Trying to tell
He
her
was
history.
just trying. Yes, he was just trying to tell the history of something and recall it, but like he couldn't process it. Like a computer, like it needs an update.
Unless he's lying. I thought you didn't trust these orbs.
I don't trust him. Yeah. We'll see.
So
Just
we'll
at
go
the
on to
end.
chapter 3. This
That-
one will be following another new character. In here we meet Hrathen as he arrives in K. He's a gyorn for the Darethi religion, and he's here in order to convert the country to the
There were a
Darethi.
lot of new words to learn in this chapter with their different religious hierarchy stuff.
Yeah, the religions here are interesting because technically they both follow the same. Yeah, that comes in chapter 5, but yeah, they both follow the same god. It's just how they follow the god.
So it's like our world. So I think that's really interesting, that comparison.
What was that?
It's like our world. So I think it's really interesting, that comparison where most of the major religions are so similar.
Hrathen meets Fion, I think his name was. Fjon, who is the Artith assigned to K. And Artith is like their priests. Hrathen's not impressed with him, and he feels that he has been tainted by Arelon. So he decides to send Fion back to Fjorden.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting for him to come in like the boss, like the store manager comes in to fire the manager.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see how he steps up and looks upon how this place is so lax. Everyone's just having a good time, and he immediately is like, this guy's doing a terrible job.
And so, he goes back to, his office, the office, Hrathen's talking to Fion. And Fion's really apologetic, and he agrees that he has fallen from where he should be. And that's where Hrathen takes out a letter from their emperor, Wern. Yeah, Wern, and he has Fion read it, and Fion's like shocked reading the letter because he knows that he would not be able to do what the letter says in it.
I really liked before that when Hrathen is when it says he's holding the letters and he feels that he's not even worthy of touching it. It puts so much importance on it and told us a lot about this guy, that whatever they believe in, he really believes. So I really liked getting to see that guy the other guy whose name I forgot, but you just said, his perspective on that too, and that he held it, or he saw it with as much reverence. It really, really built this letter up a lot, and I was dying to know what it said. Or not letter, Holy Scripture it was referred to as, because it was written by their
emperor, who's considered
God
like a
Emperor guy.
prophet.
Yeah, like a pope type guy, yeah. That really set up for me just how religious these guys are.
Hrathen is impressed that Fion was able to realize his own failings, and he gives him a letter in order to bring back to Fjorden. The letter pretty much says that, that Fion needs to be, re-raised up or retrained, something like that.
Re-brainwashed.
Yeah.
No, he needs to relearn the Enlightenment and be a good member of their very
Just
religion.
cleansed of his
cleansed.
sullying.
And that they may set him up with a new thing to run.
Fion thanks him, leaves, and that's where we learn that Hrathen had a second letter in his pocket that would have had, whoever Fion gave it to, kill him for being disloyal to the Darethi religion. But Hrathen decides to burn that letter now.
Yeah, I really liked that he had this man is a heretic, destroy him, and the second chance one, and the part where he says that he had no idea how close he came to being basically killed. I thought it was really interesting to see him watch this guy through his perspective, and every little thing he do was being examined so much. What's that? What word you use?
Scrutinized.
Yeah, scrutinized. That's a better word. Yeah, I really enjoyed that because this guy had no idea.
And then next we see Hrathen. He's meeting all the Artiths in their little church. Yeah, and this is where he meets Dilov, who's an Artith that is completely loyal to the Darethi religion.
Fanatically so. Or
Yep.
what was the word? Do you remember, Shida?
Um,
Or just how
a religious word for someone who's super.
yeah.
You use it all the time as your
Here we go.
zealot.
Well,
He was a zealot.
Yeah, zealotless, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but here's a line. No, it isn't defiance in this man's eyes. It's religious fervor.
Fervor,
One,
that's the word, yeah.
one did not often find zealots in the directly religion.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
really interesting.
this is my favorite character.
Fervor guy?
Yeah, Delof.
Delof. That's also where we learned that Fiona had made a bunch of people artists where technically you should not have that power. Only a gyorn can make him. So
And when the guy
Hrathen,
knew that, that was really interesting. When he asks, do you know what mistake he made? And he's like, yes, he cannot set me to his own station. I never referred to myself as such. That was a nice way to show just how he's not bullshitting on the...
He's like, "What did you think of your manager?" It's like, "Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
he was corrupted and he didn't do things right. He didn't follow the rules. Like, he
And
was so great. He was
I think
also not of their race. He was from this
yeah.
country. So,
That was interesting to me too.
they're like, "Wow, that's surprising. Like, you just totally got converted." So I thought that was interesting. That's why I like him.
I always like in fantasy things when religion is more, it's not as simple as just everyone knows it's that god for sure, you know? When you've got like how it is in our world where different sects of it or different things prosper and you have people converted around the world to one that's very enticing. So I really liked getting to learn about that, about their faith here. When he said he read all the religious texts in one night, was just
Yeah.
converted.
and Hrathen, in his talking, he can see the ambition that's in Delof's eyes, and he decides to make Delof his Odiv, which is pretty much like his servant, so that
Slave was
Delof,
the word he used. Yeah.
Lackey.
yeah, but then Delof would pretty much be working directly for Gyorn, so it'd be still a good position for him to be in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I'll keep you close so you don't do anything rash.
I like the direct him in constructive directions, like point him in good directions.
Get him on my side so he can be loyal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a
Well, also
that's a
that'd be
tactic.
useful, right, to convert people who, or to show people that even those outside of the, how's he say it?
Yeah.
Like he's not of, or he welcomes all his people, even though he welcomes our people the most, you know, or however it was worded. Like to show that those outside of that race or whatever it is, that they're allowed in.
Yeah, he found him really useful.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to convert this country. We've got a guy who's from the country that's super into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hrathen sends Delof on a mission. He has to follow Fionn, and if Fionn doesn't go directly back to Fjorden, if he decides to start venturing off his own way, to kill him.
Yeah, for any reason, if he gets off the ship.
Yeah.
I really wonder if we're going to come back and have him be like, yep, he went right there, or he did take a step off to pee once, so I killed him. Really curious to know if we learn that.
It sounds like he did not like him and was just waiting for an excuse, so we'll see.
We'll see if he's murderous or if he's just strictly loyal too.
Yeah. Also, if he's a rule guy. He seems like a stickler for the rules, so he'll probably kill him.
I hope not. I like that guy.
I think that guy is done. Like, he served his part, and so I think it would be...
Yeah, in the story, I don't think he'll be relevant again, but I hope he gets to make it back to their reconditioning temple or whatever it is.
And then we have Hrathen he's in the office and he looks back at that letter, that scripture from Wern again. To summarize it, it pretty much says that that Hrathen has 3 months to convert Arelon to the Dorethi religion. Otherwise, Fjorden will then invade and destroy the country.
And kill every
Hrathen,
single heathen.
Hrathen believes that he is going to be the savior of the country. He will save all the people.
That's about what I expected the letter to be, but I yet still didn't expect it to actually just be straight up that, because that's so big and horrifying.
It's 3 days? I thought
Oh, 3 months.
3 months. Okay. Yeah.
3 days would be not enough time. I don't think 3 months is enough time either.
Yeah. I wanted like Hrathen, but I'm like, he is so into this. Like, he really thinks he's doing God's work.
That's
And
what makes them so interesting.
yeah, but
I
he's
love guys doing God's work who understand that you do need to kill the heathens sometimes, especially when your king tells you.
sometimes
It's
it's not
holy
your king.
scripture.
Yeah, no, it's not your king, it's the word of God.
Yeah, from the prophet.
Yeah.
I did not expect that kind of stuff in here, so that was really, really intriguing to me. And it
I
really...
wonder how oh sorry.
No, you first.
I wonder how it would feel to feel like you're living in old times where like you're following prophets' orders, like if it was like the Bible and you think you're really like living in the Bible right now, you know?
Hey, there's people who believe that here, you know? If you go
Yeah.
over to like some terrorist organizations and stuff, they really, really make it like that for themselves.
Yeah,
Doing
doing God's work.
God's work. Killing people.
He really feels like that. That's why
Mhm.
he's scary and I don't like him.
I like when Sarene is talking about, strengthening the alliance between the kingdoms because Jordan, is that its
Because
name, right?
Yeah.
Like they're a danger out there. I didn't really give it much thought. I was like, yeah, sure. But when this guy comes in and their leader is saying, convert everyone, we're gonna kill them all who don't convert, then we're gonna go to that next kingdom. I was like, okay, so there is a legit threat out there. This
it's
isn't
not
just
a threat.
political talk.
I
What's
feel
that?
like it's too late already.
Well,
Like
unless
it
everyone converts.
because everyone has converted. Like they're
Not to
doing
this.
this. Yeah, but they are in other countries and they're mostly converted
Oh,
everything. It's mostly
yeah.
just Serene's country and this one that's not fully converted yet.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah,
this
they're
is far too late.
That's just of the known world, right?
Teod and Arelon both follow I believe it was the Karathi religion. And
Hmm.
Fjorden is the Darethi religion.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're getting in with their like religion, like, oh, we're just trying to spread our religion, but that's not all they're doing. They're taking over from the inside.
Yeah, that's a smart way to do it. Now I want to meet this God King guy and see what he's like someday. See
He's
if he's a
probably
fervent
a
believer too.
moron.
I don't know. He wrote pretty articulately in the letter.
I think he might be crazy.
That's what I'm curious to see. One, does he believe all this stuff? Or two, does he not? Or three, is all this stuff real? We don't know. Could be.
That's true. It's fantasy. It could be real.
I would love to find out that in trying to cure this place of its heathenry, they're actually the heroes and the heathenry's the bad thing. That would be hilarious.
You know what? Yeah, maybe that's how you heal the Atlantis.
You never know with a fantasy series, because gods aren't always nice people either.
No.
But I'm always very atheistic when I start a fantasy series until it outright tells me that this stuff is true. So,
Mm.
what about you?
So,
Do you usually fall or believe their stuff's real shit there or no?
I usually don't believe anything until they tell me.
Yeah.
I leave it open to whatever they're trying to build.
Because they refer to the Elantrians or Elantri, however, as basically living gods back then too, and that was not that long ago, right?
10
10
years,
years,
yeah.
yeah. So it's crazy to me that in a lot of these people's lifetimes, they've seen these like
Yes, that's my favorite part. We'll wait for that.
Oh, I don't know what part you're referring to.
I'll wait till chapter 5.
With myself, whenever I'm reading fantasy, I always like to believe that the religions and gods and stuff are always real at the beginning. I just find it more fun for
What about in
that
one
in
like
fantasy.
what about in one like this where they claim they worship the same god, but he says there's only one way to worship it, so there's disagreement and all that stuff. Where do you fall on that when you start reading something like this?
Well, they still follow the same god. They just choose to follow it differently.
Ah, I see. Heathen, there's only one path towards him.
So we'll go on to chapter 4 next. So this one, it starts with Raoden and Galladin, they're watching as a woman has just been sent into Elantris. She's standing there with her, basket with foods and stuff, and she takes just a single step in a certain direction. Galladin said that's enough to determine who gets her.
Oh yeah.
It leads
Oh,
to
yeah,
a group of men showing up, taking her food, but they do not harm her.
Yeah, and he says she's lucky. She's lucky they just took her stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of, if she would have walked the other way, they probably would have beat her up too.
And throughout the chapter, we learn that Elantris is pretty much run by 3 separate gangs.
Mm-hmm.
There's one gang that is, centered in the market. It's run by Sheor. That gang it's a lot more wild with the people and everything, and they'd be a lot more prone to violence. They would take your basket and also would do damage to you.
I liked when it's talking about how they are more wild and feral, but they also, if you look like you'd fight back, they're very reluctant to come deal with you, just because a single scratch can fuck you up so much. It really made them seem like assholes. If you look like you're gonna just cower, they'll beat you to death, though.
Ugh. Terrible.
Then there is another gang, which is based out of the university, and it's run by a former noble named Aondin. And he's also a person where he says that he plans on attacking Kay.
Yeah. Raoden. How did I forget the name already? It says that he thinks he might be a little crazy.
Yeah. What's the name of that gang again?
That Aondin.
Yeah.
Aondin. Aanden. I know a lot of the Elantrian names. If they have 2 vowels at the start, it's supposed to be 2 syllables.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At least for some of them. And then the third gang is based out of the palace and is run by Karata. She's more gentle and will take food without hurting you. But when it comes to her territory, she is the most protective of it.
Mm-hmm.
She is also a person who has left Elantris a few times, and she has been caught 3 times near the palace in Kay.
Yeah, it was really interesting to learn that if you do escape, they'll just toss you right back in. There's no other thing they do.
I thought of that too. It's can't you try to leave? Get supplies,
Well, the walls are patrolled, aren't they? A bit.
Yeah. I also feel like if it's prison, can you make deals with the outside and get some, special stuff?
I have to guess the gang leaders can, at least the smart one, the smart girl, but I don't know.
Oh, it sounds like they have nothing though.
Yeah. I really like how the guy in the university or I don't remember, the book place, how they'd been eating the books, and they were all
Yeah, I
gone
wanted
now.
to say that.
Yeah, and he's so
They're
sad.
Oh, that's so funny and sad eating books because they're made of goat skin, sheep skin, or something like that.
Mm.
Vellum. Yep.
And Raoden's so horrified at these ancient scrolls just being eaten.
Yeah. We don't care about that when we're starving.
I also thought it was so funny that guy, they live in there, and he's always miffed that he doesn't live in the castle because he wants to be royalty. Or he calls himself a baron, right? And it's always annoyed the hell out of him.
Always in these kind of things where leaders rise up from the groups.
Mm-hmm. Because people want someone to follow, it said, to take away some of the unsurety and horror of their life.
Mm-hmm. Anything, it's a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes me think a little bit of Escape from New York.
Yeah.
Yep. In Mad Max.
Yeah, Fury Road, right? Yeah. I also
any kind of apocalyptic thing.
Yeah, somebody's always going to stand up. Fallout always has those too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Escape from New York because of the giant walls around in the prison thing.
Yeah.
It's got the Duke of New York and them rising up, or Cuervo Jones. I
Good
also
old
like
Cuervo Jones.
Yeah, he's great. How Gordon pointing out that you move real slow when you're in here. Slow
Galladin.
and deliberate. Galladin, sorry. You move
called him
slow
Gordon?
and I called him Gorodin. So just a few letters wrong.
Yeah.
But you do not rush, because if you stub your other toe, you're going to have a bad time.
It's a whole different way of life. You have to think about things that you took for granted so much.
I'd be so worried about being up on top of the buildings just in case you slip and fall off.
I wouldn't go anywhere. I'd just hide somewhere and not risk anything.
Yeah, they showed some people who do that, right? Who just hide in the shadows, don't move at all, crouch down.
Mhm.
But that sounds horrible.
It all sounds horrible.
And through this, Raoden, thinks of his friends on the outside, some specific names. He wonders if Cain and Royal, would be able to keep the group together. He also thinks about his friend Lucal, who was just recently married. Raoden also thinks of Sarene and, wonders if she's as witty in person.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was
You know,
sad because now we know her, so we know the answer.
And then, throughout the city,
Weird.
Elantris is full of these people who they called the Hoed. They are those who have succumbed to the pain and suffering and now
Oh,
just lie on the
yeah.
ground doing nothing but moaning.
Yeah.
Galden says that a person in Elantris can only last a couple years, that he himself has only been in Elantris for a few months.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was as shocked as Riordan was at that. He seemed like an old master.
Yeah, it's like he knew all the ropes. He
Mhm.
grew up here.
But
Yeah.
doesn't he say that's because he says you'll break your arm until it gets fixed in a couple years, and Rodin's like, what? And he's like, that's just a theory, that if you could make it that long, maybe, but nobody has, right?
Raoden, as he's looking around, he notices that Elantris is just too broken down for only being 10 years since its downfall. It's rotting, falling apart. Even the stone is rotting away.
Mm.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was most interesting to me about this place, because it seems like it's not just the people here who have some unnatural thing happening.
Mhm. Definitely a curse. I wonder where he got his info though. Galadin.
Yeah, we don't know. He could be making everything up for all we know.
Yeah. He sure knows a lot.
I don't think he knows that much. I think he's just one of those guys who talks and doesn't give away information freely, or easily. So it seems like he's a lot wiser and more knowledgeable and valuable than he is, It's my theory.
But he has a lot of theories and thoughts about maybe you don't do anything all day there, but
Yeah.
look around, try to get
Mhm.
info. Because he knows a lot about the people and like what would happen if you burned them or cut them
And the
up and
different
stuff like
theories
that.
people have and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
people's
curious.
theories. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious to see who he talks to in here.
Uh,
Like who he's talked to in here. Like other
mhm.
relatively normal people.
Like when he shows up to the gangs, he's like, "Hey, what's up?" Like,
It
"Oh,
didn't seem that
Galadin, you
way.
son of
Like,
a bitch!" Like,
I don't think so.
maybe he's got an in with all the gangs.
I don't know about that. But if that's how it is, I
Maybe
will.
he's Snake Plissken.
Snake Plissken would not be like that. Snake Plissken would do a terrible
Maybe
job
he
in
was
here.
stuck
He
there.
got shot in both movies in the same leg.
That wouldn't be good here.
No, it would not. He couldn't have made all those basketball shots.
All right. And that's also Raoden. He sees a Seon just moving around Elantris, which I
Oh, yeah.
Oh
believe
yeah.
that's probably Ash.
Yeah, because he was sent away to do something, right? Yeah.
Yep. And this is also where he learns
Oh.
that when a person is taken by the Sheod, if they're attached to a Seon, their Seon goes insane.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So Raoden did have his own Seon, but now his Seon is just gone insane.
I wonder where
That
they are.
sucks. I wonder what they can do. Like, can they get stuff for you? Like, get me food and stuff? I don't know. They're so mysterious.
I'm curious to know why they
But
go
yeah,
insane. Got to be some link
this
there.
maybe yeah, because they're connected. Because it's like their thing.
Yeah, but are they connected like mentally, spiritually, or something we don't know about?
Like an
Again,
avatar.
like they did. I don't think so.
Yeah,
How's it described in there? Their connection?
they just get passed down from like a parent or relative to them.
Yeah. No,
We
I'm very
don't get
curious.
much details.
I'm deathly curious to know what this curse thing is. All the elements of it. He's really done a good job of setting this up as something that makes me want to just continue reading just to know the answer.
Hmm.
And
Also,
then,
though, just
you
that
go.
there aren't that many Scions. is interesting in
That's what
in
it
that
used to be,
country.
right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
it's because so many people have got this thing, right? And they've
I think
disappeared.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder how
Oh,
common is this thing? Especially if other countries don't really know just how it is. And if they
Well,
don't tell people. What's that?
you would have had anybody who was an Elantrian, 10 years ago. This would have happened to them,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then however many people would have, you know, been taken by the Sheod after that.
Yeah, that's what I wonder, how common it is. There's already more people in this city than I expected there to be, so it seems like such a creepy little secret they're keeping behind
mhm.
those walls.
And I wonder, I don't remember if this book tells us or not, but I think about the people, because anybody in Arelon can be taken by the Sheod.
Mhm.
You know, you know, like how do people that are not right by Elantris are? Like, do they have to like put them into a wagon, transport them all the way up to Elantris, and just toss them in?
Yeah, that's true. Let's do a whole journey where you bring all your people and dump them there.
Yeah, because one of the maps is just pretty much Arelon, and you can see that Elantris is all the way up at the northern part. So there's a bunch of the other areas that need to get moved up there.
That's why they made their kingdom there. It's easier to dump your people.
Very well could be.
Like, I'm sick of sending ships up there.
Especially if they don't want people to know how bad it is.
Yeah, you can just quietly do it, like walk them in.
At the end we have Galadin. He brings Raoden back to his place, and it's I think it's like underground, and it's just full of books, just
Yeah,
lots and lots of books.
that was very interesting because I'm like, Elantris was an entire city full of stuff. So I
Like a
wonder,
huge city of culture and knowledge too, right?
yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that you could probably find that would be useful. I like that right away. He's like, we could read these books and get more information and stuff.
So excited to see books.
Yeah,
He
and just
definitely
some
seems
answers.
yeah.
Oh yeah, he probably got his info from the books.
The walls, there were aeons painted on them, and aeons are pretty much like rune. Just
Like
the
what?
Okay.
mystical characters behind the Aeonic language.
Oh, runes. I see. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, Raoden's talking about how before the Raod Elantrians could create magics by drawing aeons in the sky. And that's where
Maybe
Galadin,
we could learn that.
well, Galen's like, you mean like this? Then he uses his
Yeah.
finger and he's able to draw a glowing aeon in the sky, in the air.
Yay!
It's an image we had right on one of those covers we saw last time.
Yeah. Spoiler.
So I probably should have seen that coming. But I did not.
It's cool.
You like?
Mhm. It shows that still exists. Magic still exists. It's not all dead.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, you know what? What are the people who were chosen for this before had all these powers and stuff. Like it was a good thing. Like maybe you can make it a good thing still.
Right? Anything else in chapter 4 you two feel like we missed or that you'd want to discuss?
I think it was this chapter where maybe it was one before where Galadin, right? Or did I do it wrong again? Yeah, that's his
Yeah,
name. He's
Galadin.
talking about in this place there's like no room for hope. What does he say? I don't know. There's no room for good and like any kind of hope of any kind. And Riordan's like, and thinking, we'll see. Maybe we can change that. Showing that he has not given up in here at all. He's getting the lay of the land, he's learning everything, and he'd like to do something, not just give up to despair or just be self-interested and try to not get hurt. I thought that was really
Yeah.
interesting, but I cannot remember what the line was.
He has such a spirit of the hero in here. So
Yeah.
I hope he does it. Figures things out. That's the end of that chapter. Oh,
Yeah,
I
we'll
also
move on.
like that oh sorry.
Oh, go.
I just like that he was reluctant to show Raoden his house because he just asked like, "Oh, where do you live?" And he's just like, "I guess I'll show you my place." But they trusted each other. They've been trusting each other so far. So
I
I
liked
think it
his
shows a lot.
I liked his "oh, I shouldn't have shown you. Now I'll never get you to leave" thing. But that
Yeah.
shows me that he does like Raoden. Like he probably doesn't have anyone who's this cognizant around to talk to.
Sounded like he was watching him a little too. Like he gave the bread. Like he was a good person.
Yeah, probably. Probably why he showed himself.
Yeah, besties.
Curious to hear what he knows that I don't know about this magic stuff.
Maybe he's been practicing all this time.
Yeah, probably.
Right,
Or it's
on to
something he knows.
On to chapter 5. So this one starts with Sarene's in Ioden's court, and she's surprised to see Hrathen come in. She's knows that there are only 20 Yorns, and it's unusual for one of them to show up.
That
She
was
knows he's
interesting to learn.
and she
That there's
knows that
only
he's a
20 of
Yorn
them.
because he has on the red armor.
I like how she describes the armor as incredibly superficial. Like it looks impressive, but in battle it's not going to do stuff. And the line about nobody back where she's from can walk so easily in plate armor as they can when they're dressed in this red stuff.
Hrathen, pretty much comes to this court and tells Ioden to convert, but Ioden just turns him down. And Ioden explains that he already worships the god, same god. Like Ioden worships Shu-Dareth, while Hrathen worships Shu-Dareth, which are both the same god, Shu-Kessig.
I thought his reaction is so funny. Because he's like, yeah, I already let you guys set up your little temples in here. I don't know what more you want. Like,
Yeah. The way he brushed him off the same way he brushed Sarene off was really funny. Like, this
that's
does
why I
not
like
take it
him.
seriously.
Like, yeah, I already did everything, you're asking for. But I know Hrathen's like, that's not enough. So,
Yeah. Shu-Dareth is the only true form of Shu-Keshk. I think is so funny. All these nonsense words to us that he's taking so deathly seriously.
Yeah, Hrathen's upset. He leaves frustrated, but Ioden just pays it no mind. He doesn't think about it because Fjorden doesn't have the same military might as it had centuries ago, and he pretty much
oh
tells him
yeah, he talks down to him. He's like,
Yeah. Where are your armies, etc., etc.
yeah. See,
I,
he's cool.
I like that Hrathen doesn't argue. I imagine in his head he's like, well, fine, take the sword when it comes then, you fool, and walks away.
And Sarene, in her mind, she knows how dangerous Hrathen is because she knows that, Fjorden and its priests, right now, they are more, with them and the priests, they're more powerful than they ever were when its military was at its, highest might.
Mhm.
But she notes that Ioden is a merchant and not a diplomat, so he's not aware of this. And while Hrathen's leaving, his eyes catch Sarene's. He doesn't stop, but, there's something about her, makes him curious.
I really hope that he falls for Sarene.
Wait, that who falls for Sarene?
That Hrathen falls for her.
What? No way.
Didn't you
Yeah,
say
him.
earlier you shipped Sarene and Raoden?
I do. I think they're the better couple, but I
Yeah,
still
but
think,
last book she'd have described a love triangle.
yeah. I really hope that Hrathen, well, it's really good when characters like that are such a one-note character suddenly, like, have a crush on a girl.
You
Like,
just want like the plot from Hunchback in Notre Dame, right?
yep.
Where the religious guy's all
Yep. Mm-hmm.
too lanky.
Yeah. Lanky is nice.
Well, he stops, yeah, like you said, right? Takes notice of how weird she looks and out of place.
Right here, that's when Ioden notices Sarene and calls her out for being in court. Because apparently women are only allowed in court if they are invited, and he did not invite Sarene.
Yeah, that was funny.
And Sarene's response to this is to just act foolish, that she's just there to look at the paintings, since this is what Ioden assumes that she is like.
The way
Yeah.
she played it up was so funny.
Yeah. Plays dumb and innocent.
Mm. Going from her internal monologue to the dialogue she was actually saying was quite funny to me. And the whole chapter is kind of written from her perspective a bit, so it was funny to be like, I just want to look at the paintings.
No one told me I wasn't allowed. Like,
Yeah.
Yep. I like that Ash made fun of her. Like, wow, you really played that up.
And while in court, she runs into her uncle, Kiine or Cain. And
I
or
like at
she,
first she's like, "Who the fuck is this big guy coming towards me? All recognizable."
it's Hunky K.
Yeah, but at first she's like, "Oh, hey, it's you," and she's like, "What the fuck is this guy?" And her little orb is all like, "I have no idea." That's when it says its memory isn't what it used to be. I think, isn't it?
Yep, and it's her uncle. She had not seen him in over a decade, and he decides to, bring her back to his mansion and to meet his family, which also surprises her that he has a family.
Yeah, because he was a proud bachelor back in the day.
Yeah. She goes to his mansion and pretty much she meets his wife, Deora, his twins, Casey and Daorn. He has his son, Lucal, way too old to be his son, but that's his stepson. It's Deora's son. You have
I like
Lucal's
how
wife, Yala or
yeah,
Jala, and then there's their other son, Aiden.
that was a lot of characters to introduce at once, but I thought he did a good job of the way he wrote their whole time together, so you could actually at least remember how many kids there were and around what age and stuff, if not the names.
And some of these names you could recognize from, last chapter when Raoden was thinking of his friends because he wondered if Cain and Royal could keep the group together. So here's
Oh, you see, I
Cain that
didn't
we
catch
met,
that. I did not catch
Wait,
that at all.
which one is Cain?
her uncle. So
Oh,
that's one of the
Mhm.
two that he's wondering that could keep the group together, and that his other friend Lucal was just recently married. Lucal's the
oh,
stepson.
Mhm.
wow! I did not catch that.
No, I didn't
That
either.
that's so cool. I was gonna say I was surprised he had a whole life that we don't get to know about, but now we do. That's cool. Oh, they would have been such a good couple.
Oh,
Lucal's
because
wife,
they were uncle.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Wait a
Lucal's
minute.
wife, Jala. She's from, I think she was Swordish, which is part of the Fjordan Empire now. The other son, Aiden, he's very pale and talks to himself quietly a lot, saying a lot of numbers. So much so
He's
that,
cursed.
he knows
Sure.
exactly how many steps it is to get to, the faraway country Svorden.
Yeah, he's some kind of autistic savant, I assume.
Oh, he's cursed too.
You think he's
Uh,
cursed?
my theory is he is cursed. He had the Sayod happen to him, and they're keeping him secret.
Oh, I see. I'm not convinced.
No, because he doesn't have the markings, or I don't
Makeup.
think they said he's not bald. I don't think.
Yeah. I like how no one in the family pays him mind, so she thinks to do the same thing. Like, shows she's very, very observant of how people act and how to fit into situations.
She's a politician's daughter.
Hmm.
I can't believe they're friends. Does her uncle ever say, "Oh, I'm friends with your fiance or
No,
or like,
But
oh, you guys would have made a good couple." He
he
never said
says
that.
he says I wasn't going to bring it up, but I'm so sorry for what happened to you. That's all I remember him saying when she brings it up.
I wonder if he knows. If he knows that he isn't dead,
That's a
that
good
Raoden's
question.
alive.
My
Mm,
feeling is that the king covered it up as much as possible, but you very well could. I have no idea. We don't know yet.
mm. He was
yeah,
so
I mean,
he probably knew that he
he's,
wasn't sick or anything.
Yeah,
if Iden's trying to cover up a death, the less people that know, the better.
yeah.
Yeah, but he would think it was suspicious, maybe.
Well, he's saying if they can keep the group together, we don't know what any of that means. So we don't know any of the politics here in this kingdom yet.
I thought it was group like just his pals,
Very well could be, but I thought
not
it was more than pals.
like a rebellion.
I don't know about a rebellion. We shall see.
Hmm.
While they're having dinner, which also surprises Sarene that her uncle can cook.
Yeah, and they're
You
eating
know,
like far off fantasy Chinese food with sticks and stuff, right? Thought that was interesting. Why'd you gasp, Shrita?
Because of what we're about to reveal that we found out.
Oh,
yep.
okay.
Oh, we find out about, the day that Elantris fell. So the very same day that the Raoden happened and all the Elantrians, pretty much became the what they are, the servants attacked the Elantrians and started killing them.
Mhm.
Killed any Elantrians plus any that they knew that were associated with Elantrians.
Family, friends, anyone appointed to high office, I recall them saying.
And, then you had the whole, after that, a lot of chaos, and that's where the merchants pretty much were the ones that took power, and
Mhm.
that's how Raoden became king.
I like when
And
he
it
was
was-
talking about all the theories of why the servants did that they were treated too well, or they'd seen too much, or they'd been, I don't remember, stuff like that. And that's why they don't have servants in their house. They just don't trust them now.
Yep, that was what I was excited about.
Yeah. You liked that revelation?
Well, yeah, like Sarene says, she was all amazed that they didn't have servants because, like, her uncle's pretty much a prince, or like,
And also
and
during this,
he thought they were just doing that to have some intimacy.
yeah, like we're gonna
Yeah.
have family dinner.
Mm-hmm.
and during this conversation, Kian also mentions that he likely has no official title in Teod anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And, this surprises Sarene because she knows nothing about this, and she knows pretty much everything, that has happened in Teod in the past 50 years.
Yeah, that was weird because she didn't even know her uncle was like still around, or because like they used to be really close. Huh?
Thought he just sailed off. Yeah.
Yep. She didn't know that anything about what he's been up to. That he's kind of been cut off from the family.
So now I wonder if he's tied to Kiaiden, if she was being married off to Raoden for a reason, if they all know each other. Like, what is going on here? Like, any of the information we don't have. I wonder if, I imagine there's a bigger picture that her father even knows about. What was that?
Not me? Nothing. I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, okay.
At the very end, it mentions that she starts feeling, some of the tension go away for the first time since she left her home a week earlier.
Mm-hmm. That was nice. She's lucky she has family there.
Yeah, that is nice.
Anything else in chapter 5 that you feel like we missed or that you'd want to talk about?
Yeah, isn't it in that chapter where her uncle kind of talks about, well, this was the part he's talking about the servants rebelling and stuff, that he was here when the Elantria fell.
Yeah.
Elantris fell, yeah.
So
And
thank God we didn't have any Elantrans in our family.
Yeah, and he was talking about how, like we were talking about earlier, how how crazy it would be to see them be like gods and then just fall like that.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, that's my favorite quote there. I'll say it. It was the line where he says, "The horror of seeing gods turn wretched and foul."
Oh yeah, that was cool.
And that was just 10 years ago. So that's not very long.
Yeah, the 10 years ago is crazy to me because that's just long enough that plenty of people wouldn't know much and some myths could spread, but not so long that nobody doesn't know more stuff,
Yeah, any adults now remember that. So that's crazy.
Like when he gives all those reasons for why the servants killed them all, I don't believe it. There's some reason they did. Like a lot of the underclass had to have known something and that they needed to get rid of all Elantrans because something was wrong, That's my theory, at least.
They were just going crazy.
But 10 years ago, if you want to put it into Marvel movies, for us, 10 years ago would be when Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy came out.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of younger people now, or even people from then, who don't even know those movies exist. I like how you use Marvel movies and not real life events.
I feel like Marvel movies is something that a lot of people would be able to follow easily.
More so than like this war broke out, these people were killed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is funny though.
Well, it's not as easy to age as something like as cool and fashionable as a movie.
Yeah, but since you rewatch a movie, I think those do stick in your head a bit better. If I'd only watched those one time, that would seem really long ago, but we just watched those like a year ago.
Yeah, it's just
even when I go
to watch when you saw it in the theater.
Yeah. Now that feels like a long time ago. What's that?
Mm-hmm. Even just going to see Iron Man 1, it feels like so long ago.
Well, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, but that's just a little over 10 years ago, And this was just 10 years ago. I'm really curious to see what everyone knows about everything, because as much as Sarene is inquisitive, she doesn't know much.
Yeah.
Well, Justin, if you want a one-time event, you only saw one time, that was 10 years ago. That'd be WrestleMania 30, so where Daniel Bryan beat, Batista and Randy Orton in the main event.
Yeah, I don't know if
Or-
that's gonna be as comparable as the fall of Elantris, though.
Or where Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker to end the streak.
That was, yeah, okay.
Just using kind of,
No,
you
that
remember
one I
this
do
stuff.
remember clearly. And I will tell my nieces and nephews of it with the same reverence.
As the fall of a glowing city filled with people who could do magic.
Yes. We covered everything in this chapter I had to
Yep.
say about it.
I think there's one other thing I noticed that we forgot to say in the Hrathen chapter. When he was going in the city, he noticed that there were no real defenses around Kay. There wasn't any wall.
I like that because when you're first watching it, I thought he's like, I don't approve. I'm going to have to fix this. Now I know he's like, it's going to be very easy to sweep in and kill all these people.
I'm surprised it hasn't been taken over yet.
Well, on the map, aren't they pretty remote?
They
had like a 5-foot frickin' fence they built that he said was more like a border.
Yeah. Well, they had, because you have the mountains between Arelon and Fjorden.
Yeah.
And there used to be Duladel between the two, but now Duladel's been taken over by Fjorden. So that's why now it's more likely than before. I think even Sarene mentioned that 5 years ago she wasn't that worried about Fjorden, but now she is. All right, so we'll move on to our, ending categories. But, well, I guess I'll ask you guys a couple questions. With Hrathen, is he going to be, hero or a villain more so in this story?
I legit cannot tell. I was thinking about that exactly, and I was like, it could go either way, because I can't tell. The way he thinks, that character is usually just a straight villain, and I thought it was really interesting how they portrayed his religious feelings, because they seemed more like how a real person who's back in the day when you've got the Catholic Church or whatever is super powerful and they're doing a few shady things here and there. He seems like how they really be, where you genuinely believe. So in your mind, you're not committing evil in any way, So because of that, he's not portrayed as your generic religious villain. So I don't know if he's going to rebel against his people because he comes to like these people. I don't know if it's going to turn out that he's actually trying to do good, like the religion, there's something to that. Or he's just going to be a straight up behead all the heathens type. I really can't guess.
He hasn't done anything to make me think he's evil. He saved the one head priest guy's life, basically. Gave him a chance, I mean.
Yeah, but only because he said all the right things about the faith,
Yeah, but he gave him a chance instead of just killing him right off,
And if that guy gets off the ship at any other place, he'll get killed.
Well, yeah, because he's committed heresy, in his mind.
He's giving him a chance.
Yeah, if he's not serious about going back, then he's a heretic,
Yeah. And those were his holy orders, so.
Yeah. I get it in the context of disobeying holy orders. If you truly believe in them, good and evil become a much harder thing to define from that perspective, because good is whatever God says to do, Evil is going against. So
he hasn't done anything give off. He's not like Judge Frollo, like we were saying. I think the things we've
really
seen so far.
And hypocritical and stuff.
Yeah, just mean-spirited too,
and believes I'm the chosen, you're not, that kind of crap, right?
Yeah. He's not egotistic. He truly seems to believe, which makes me believe that all he needs is one little crack in his belief to show that it's nothing, it's not real. It's just humans or, people in charge of this, for him to completely 180 on it. So I think he will end up being good.
Or he gets that crack and then he doubles down on it just as much, and that's when he turns into a straight villain.
I think he seems smart, so I don't know if it depends on what the crack is. That's all.
I have to say, when we saw the covers last week and we had this badass guy in red armor, I didn't expect him to be the guy who was sent to to convert everybody before they're all slaughtered. I would
Yeah.
never have expected that.
Oh, that's another clue for me that he was not going to be a straight up villain because he's portrayed a little bit like the main character and a little heroic. So
Yeah, but Raoden seems like he's genuinely actually heroic, like normal, classical heroic.
Raoden.
Same with Sarene. She seems classically heroic. So I don't think
Well,
he's
now
going
I
to be
don't-
good. Oh, what's that?
so now I don't trust Riordan.
You don't trust Raoden?
He's being put through his paces.
Maybe. I don't think Hrathen's going to be good or evil. I think he's just going to be himself. That's my theory.
It depends if he falls in love with Sarene.
So Sheeta, you're still on the love triangle between Raoden, Sarene, and Hrathen.
Yeah, I am.
Is
It's
Sarene
too perfect.
all right? So you think that Hrathen will get feelings for Sarene? Will
Yep.
she gain feelings for Hrathen?
I think she might see some good characteristics in him that she admires, and I think she might like him a little bit when she sees that, because she's already making plans to go talk with him and stuff like that. So
Yeah, but she
I
did
think
not
she-
like him. She
she
hoped he'd
didn't,
trip
but
on his cape.
I think she might like him a little bit with his conviction. You can't not like guys with conviction.
Now, Shada, what do you do if he converts her over to the faith, and then she
No,
helps him
never.
slaughter her own uncle, and that's the book?
No,
That would be
Her-
quite a turn.
that's her whole personality. She really cares about the politics of her country and the people. If anything,
Well,
she'll
there's my
convert him.
current theory. There's
He's
my
gonna
current
convert
theory.
him.
We're
No.
gonna follow the Crusaders as the heroes.
Well,
So-
she's never really been in love before, so maybe.
So your theory is that she'll fall in love with Hrathen, convert to the Dorethi religion, and then lead Fjorden to slaughter Arelon and then her own kingdom, Teod.
Because it's going to turn out, and forgive me if this is all correct, their heathen faith is what's causing this curse. So the book's going to be, they need to kill every heathen in the world, and it's going to portray them as the heroes. There's my current theory, until I get evidence otherwise. And yes, she will put her own uncle to the sword.
What about
I
her
think
father?
that- Huh? No, her uncle. Then her father later. Shada, I think we have about the equal amount of evidence for both theories, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we're only 5 chapters in.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, 5 chapters is enough to tell you the full synopsis of an entire book.
Yeah, I only read 5 chapters, then I jump to the last page.
Now we'll go to our sections. First one that I will admittedly stole from the Cosmere Reads, just because I think it's a great section at the end of a thing, and that's where you just say your favorite character from this section.
Hrathen, by far. I love him so much. The second that he was so committed to the church and the cause, I was very, very, very intrigued by him.
Well, I said I liked Deloth before.
Deloth.
I just like. But I think actually Galadin is my favorite so far.
Mm.
King Aoden.
Yeah, and Aoden I do. Aoden is a honorable mention.
Yeah, but who's the official favorite?
It's Galadin, the real character.
The real character.
Yeah.
My favorite character would probably be Raoden. I tend to go with the more typical hero characters.
Yeah, he's great too.
Oh, I tend to go with like the creepiest, shadiest guy. So,
I knew that one would be your favorite.
did
so-
you really?
Yeah. That or Sarene, maybe.
I thought you might like him a lot too, just because he's so stern and strict.
I think
We've
at the
seen your-
end, I'm gonna like him. Like at the end of the series, I'll like him
Yeah.
a lot, but not right yet as of now.
Well, if he turns from his faith, I might not like him as much. We'll see.
Yeah, Justin, we've seen your D&D characters.
Mm-hmm. Justin's D&D character is Deloth.
More or less, yeah. That's funny.
All right. And then we'll go to your favorite, quote or passage from this section.
Well, Shada, didn't you say you already said yours?
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I
What was
did.
it again?
It was the line that Unky K says about the horror of seeing gods turn wretched and foul.
Yes, that was a very cool line.
Like, it just sounds terrible because you have these people that are so like angels, pretty much, just be like the worst, the lowliest life. Just sounds awful and sad, and you would just lose all hope and stuff.
Yeah, that would be a traumatizing thing to see.
Yeah, to see like a beautiful city just like turn into a dump, like a refuse area.
Mm,
It sounds very sad. I think the whole world is messed up from that one thing happening.
mm,
So, I really like that quote or that part.
yeah. Well, I'm tied for two that are very different from each other. The first one is a line that Hrathen says, "Your sin was complacency, Aerith. Contentment has destroyed more nations than any army, and it has claimed the souls of more men than even Elantris' heresies." I thought that one was so interesting in describing his, because he seems to come in and just have strict adherence to the faith and the customs you're supposed to do. And he is correct that when people get content and relaxed, that's when they get killed, which is what they're planning to do to them. So I thought that was interesting. But the other more epic line I liked was, where is it? "The stone should not crumble after just a decade of neglect. The filth should not have piled up so quickly, not with so few inhabitants. It was as if Elantris were intent on dying, a city committing suicide." I thought was quite a good line. Really explained to me how this place is sick. This place is not healthy at all. That it's more than just the Lanterns falling. So similar to yours, Shippa.
Yeah, the mine just went with a single sentence. The first sentence from chapter 1, so just start of the book. Prince Raoden of Arelon awoke early that morning, completely unaware that he had been damned for all eternity.
Yeah, that was a
I just
fun
feel
one.
like, well, that's a hell of a way to start a book.
Yeah, that was good.
It's just a classic wake up in the morning. Like,
And you're damned.
yeah. I thought it was cool that he changed it to that too. Like, seeing, because a lot of stories start with that. Like, alarm goes off, you kind of get up in the morning. Your character does, and then you're, oh well,
Look in the mirror, you've switched bodies, or that kind of thing.
yeah. So I like that opening too.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Granted, the
Yeah.
other one was also like, Serene's first, sentence, like just mentions that she steps off a boat a widow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you like those. Does something nice and they're fucked. Those lines.
Well, I think it was all three characters in like their first lines pretty much says everything about their character or their storyline coming up.
Let's see. None of Arlen's people greeted their savior when he arrived. That's funny.
For Hrathen.
See, that's why he's the best. I love people who think of themselves that way.
Wait, Joe, who's your favorite?
He said Raoden.
Raoden.
Oh yeah, Raoden.
Everyone's got a different favorite.
Yeah, cool.
And Sheeta has 3 favorites, 2 of whom are creeps.
Elof and Iodin.
I hope King Iodin makes it.
I don't think I have a dark horse favorite. Shit,
You don't?
like a weird little character. I mean, there's not that many characters yet, but
There were so many.
we'll see. By the end, I might have a super obscure favorite like Qyburn in Game of Thrones and stuff like that. We'll see.
Yeah. I think that's Dila.
I don't think so. He's not a frickin' scientist.
Yeah,
We don't know that.
Yeah, we just need to wait for somebody to be like torturing people, since your favorite song by some fire people are Roose Bolton and Qyburn.
Yep. And Daenerys, she tortures people too.
Daenerys. Yeah, go ahead if you guys want to talk about how you felt about.
But when you say a rap, do you mean a rap? Are you about to?
No, I will not be rapping.
Oh, let's do that.
Not yet. That's next session. No, my first impression was I thought it was so crazy that there were so many made-up words in this book. Like, everyone has a made-up name I've never heard before, the countries were made up, religions, food, and their eating utensils. Like everything was made up, and I was like, I usually don't like things with made up names. Like you can just make anything up, like a boogly boo and stuff. And especially as a writer myself, I've always been embarrassed to make up new words because I was like, I don't want people to try to keep up with all the stuff I'm making up. But then I was like, well, everything was made up once. Like Wookiees, hobbits, muggles. Like those are all made up words. And I was like, you know what? I'm glad to find a world with new words and someone who is just making new stuff because I'm really sick of seeing old stuff like just
Yeah.
done over again. So
Amen.
So I was really glad, and I was like, you know what, this is gonna change my mind about that, and I'm just glad to see something new.
I want to say on that, he did a really good job when Hrathen comes in and they're like, yep, with the Arelon and the gyorn and all these words, they were just nonsense words all together. He'd repeat them in contextual ways so that I was able to very quickly and easily follow what they were saying, even if I don't remember all the words. So I'm very impressed with that because I have read things before where they throw in a bunch of titles and words they make up, or names too. And by the end of the book, I don't have any of them. I don't know what any of it meant, and I'm not going to go figure it out. So I'm very impressed with that in the writing. So I think it's interesting you bring that up, Shitta.
Isn't that Clockwork Orange?
That's a whole different scenario.
Yeah, and he has even expressions. Like everyone's always like, "Oh, merciful Domai." Like
Yeah.
they say, everyone says that, so it's just
I
a
love
thing
made up
now, you know?
curses. I always like that because then you
Right.
can start
Yeah.
saying them in real life.
Yeah.
Galadin has a bunch of that too. He always calls him Sule, which translates to friend.
Hmm.
He ends so many things with Kolo,
Yeah.
which is like,
Yeah.
like if you're saying, "Oh, what are you doing over there, eh?" That's what it's
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
It's like putting
That's how
A
I
on it.
got it. Yeah.
I thought he was saying bro the whole time. Like,
Bro?
what's up?
Oh, because you were listening to it?
Yeah, the way he says it, he's like, yeah, that's what it is, bro. Like, also, like when he says
How are the
cola.
voices in the audiobook, Shitta? Are they good? Or like the
Well,
way that
because
narrated?
he gives Galadin an accent because he's from Duladel and stuff.
Mm.
So it's pretty interesting. He comes off really cool because of that. Like just like a cool guy with an accent, like in the know about this and that. And he says stuff like that, like the slang. So he comes off really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Adding the slang to it too. That's another thing that's all made up.
Yeah. My rap is that I was pleasantly surprised by all the horror and like absolute nihilistic nightmare elements in here, but with a glimmer of maybe hope. And the plot of killing heathens and all that stuff. Like scary, far away religious kingdoms are one of the scariest things in these kind of times. So both of those things really, really pleasantly surprised me to be in there. And lots of violence.
Yeah, it was really violent.
The way those poor people were described, like the necks being broken, was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the thing that stuck with me more than anything is that toe stubbing thing. Jesus Christ. I can't even imagine how horrible that must feel. And to know that our main guy is constantly feeling that and has the danger of other things. Because
Yeah,
I'm
he
like,
did a good job.
yeah, when you get cut, it doesn't hurt that much, but damn, it hurts real bad at first, you know? And so if you get cut deep and all that stuff, and then your body stays all messed up if you break an arm or lose a hand and stuff. Well, I guess that happens in real life when you lose a hand. But you know, that sounds like some descriptions of hell I've read people write online, like literally.
I was gonna say getting burned is one of the worst pains, so that's what I wouldn't want.
Yeah, and then the question
When
of
you
when you're
said he was
burned
gonna
away.
burn,
Yeah.
yeah, when he said he was gonna burn them, I was like, oh God, no, don't burn me. Like
And the
I
question
would,
of when you're burned away, do you stop feeling it or does your soul still feel it is horrifying.
yeah.
Yeah, I know when I first read this, because this was not the first Brandon Sanderson thing I read. I read,
Mhm.
a different series first. So I come here, I did not expect it to be like a horror elements to it. So I thought that was very interesting, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed it because it certainly made it different from other fantasy stuff I've read.
Mhm. Yeah, cool stuff. And I really like the city, the way it's described. Big, walled, cursed city. Super interesting. Very excited to learn more.
Yeah, a lot of mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
So next week we'll be reading chapters 6 through 10. So another 5 chapters.
Sounds good.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Wait, 6,
So
7, 8, 9, and 10? We're going to do
Yes.
7 too? I can't skip 7?
Well, you can if you want.
I'll just nod along during that chapter.
Well,
Don't read it.
I've heard people complain, like they're reading Song of Ice and Fire and they're like, yeah, I just skipped Catelyn chapters. I got sick of her.
Oh, God, no. That's a bad idea.
Or I'll see people when they're, you know, reading, manga or stuff being like, could I just skip this and go to here and stuff? No. Don't know what's going to come back. You don't know what's important. Read everything.
I wouldn't even dignify those with an answer.
Well, no.
Yeah. What
I
kind
mean-
of person does that?
I mean, there was one book series where there was a character I just really did not like. So whenever I'm listening to the audiobook, when the chapter starts and I find out it's theirs, I, groaned a little bit, but I still went through it. Now that I'm looking back at that series, listening to this podcast that's going through it, I'm learning to look at the character differently and enjoy them more. But man, that first time,
I think of it when you read a long run of comics and you get to like one guy who just writes absolute filthy garbage for like 2 or 3 years, but it's relevant later on, just powering through. Oh, God, no.
we'll go to the plugs now. Everyone's favorite part of any podcast. So if you guys want to plug anything about yourselves or anything like that, go right ahead.
All right. If you want to read comics written by me or see art by me, you can go to Profanity Beaver on Instagram or any of the social media platforms, or to my Tapas account, tapas.io/profanitybeaver.
Oh, I wasn't ready for this, but I also draw just my name, Sheeta_low on Instagram. I hope to get a YouTube or channel started where I'm just posting my projects that I'm doing, bigger cosplay projects and things like that. So probably update that later.
Joe, you gonna
Yep.
plug your OnlyFans account?
No, that's private. That's only
I'm
for
sorry
people.
for doxing you.
But I don't have anything yet to promote. I know that there is a Cosmere Chronicles Twitter that very likely does not have anything on it besides, hey, there's this episode. Cosmere Chronicles it's just Cosmere Chron. Cosmere then CHRON.
Oh, that's badass. Cosmicron.
And then
That is
there's
good.
I have set up a YouTube page for Cosmere Chronicles where it's probably just going to have the episodes on there. I can't really think of anything else to really throw onto YouTube.
Us acting
So-
out the chapters.
Oh, no. So that's about all I really have to plug. So that's going to be about all we have for, Cosmic Chronicles this week. Come back next week as we chronicle more.
Adios.
Yep. Bye bye.